The federal government and TPLF combatants have recently signed a historic peace agreement in South Africa and Kenya, putting an end to the conflict that claimed the lives of many and also resulted in the destruction of property. And this has marked a historic cessation of hostilities between the two sides. So what are the multifaceted implications of this agreement from the legal point of view? And what are some of the gaps that need to be addressed? Well, my guest today in this connection is Frehyiwot Samuel. He's the former Supreme Court judge, and he joins me via Zoom from the United States of America. With the program, I'm Shifarolak. Do stay with us. Well, Frehyiwot, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Just to kickstart our discussion, can you walk me through the peace processes signed between the federal government and TPLF in South Africa and in Kenya? So can you talk me through some of your observations of this agreement?
Thank you, Shifaro. Again, it's a privilege for me. I appreciate a lot. So, first of all, the peace agreement in Pretoria is by itself is a kind of byproduct of the process. It is a conclusion by itself, and it is also a foundation for other subsequent agreements. The reason why I say that the meeting and the agreement in Pretoria was before that. There was back and forth discussion between TPLF and the federal government, probably most likely more than twice. It might be 2 or 3, 4 times. They have been discussing just to come to the conclusion or to come to the agreement how to stop this hostility. So what I can say is that the Pretoria Agreement by itself is big conclusion, and also it is a kind of foundation for the further discussion and the agreement. Probably when I say foundation, this process is not over yet. So I would say some of the principles in which are established in the agreement in Pretoria is fundamentally they are unchangeable. They cannot change that. And it's some of the things, when you come to the details of the agreement, some of the things are simply a way forward agreement just to agree on the details. It's not even some of them are not details. It is a kind of saying, oh, we will agree on some of the details, but there are some principles. For example, the constitution, the sovereignty of Ethiopia, and having a single one army at the country level. Those are principles which they agreed. And when it comes to DDR, that means it is a process. It is a conclusion, and it is a foundation for the process to come.
From what you have observed so far, Frehyiwot, how far has it gone? Where is it now in your evaluation?
Well, here is the thing. First of all, ceasefire. Let's start from ceasefire. I think that is implemented. That is so far there is no information coming out that a kind of that tells us otherwise. At this point, cessation of fire is just effective. They are not fighting. Okay, then cessation of hostility is a process. Just basically, it's not. It is a process for permanent peace. About the hostility part, it is ongoing process. at this point we cannot, we don't see hostility, but permanent cessation of hostility, we cannot rush to say that, oh, now we are at the level where we can claim we got a permanent cessation of hostility. That I cannot claim that, but I cannot be also just uh, tell your audience that we are at that stage. At this point, what we can say is that the process has started. I think that we are encouraged with what is going on, and also we are encouraged with um, a kind of some of starting point is for cessation of hostility. That there's a kind of that's a long journey for both parties. With that regard, I don't see that much propaganda from both sides. I think it's not easy for both parties just to settle down their war psychology and just to get rid of uh, the propaganda machines which they have built for war. It might not be easy, but at this point, I think they are doing good job. I don't see even the mass media, which is owned by both parties, blaming each other for different uh, blaming each other on different subjects. They are not doing that. That's the kind of encouraging for me. It's an ongoing process, but it's encouraging. And in the meantime, there are also we are gonna expect the transitional justice framework to be uh, on board. That process and the kind of institution should be on board. We expect that. That's the kind of thing which takes time to establish and to put in place. But at this point, I would say things are in good shape, at least.
Yeah, we are witnessing encouraging results so far. And as you know, as per the agreement reached between the two sides, the TPLF has already started the disarmament processes and handing over of heavy weapons. This obviously is great news, right? What have you made out of this move?
Well, to be honest, none of us have expected this thing. At the beginning, I was so skeptical about the whole process because it was. I thought it was a kind of everybody's rushing to do this thing, and I was so concerned and I was skeptical. But just it's happening. Just we have to accept that it's happening. Well, basically now they start. I think the disarmament part is I'm so still there is way forward, and also we have to wait until the light uh, armies will be back to the federal government, or else just until they get disarmed, the light armies, because initially they I don't think they have at the beginning at some point they didn't have these heavy weapons. They got it by basically attacking the government. They got some tanks and all those heavy weapons. So still they started. I think we have to appreciate that. Let's be honest. We shouldn't be cynical about them and about the whole process. Well, we have all the right just to be suspicious. We cannot avoid that because that's our history. We have to accept that we are not blessed by just by settling down this type of conflict is by discussion and by agreement. That's not our history because always we have a kind of winner and a loser's history. This is a first experience that both fighting parties, the parties who have in conflict, who have been in conflict, are sitting down and trying to figure out how to settle the whole thing. So this is a kind of new experience, and everybody should understand also that if we are so suspicious and if we are so a kind of skeptical about the whole process, that should be understood. Having said that, it's encouraging. Just they started. So okay, then we got heavy armament issue. It might be settled within a couple of days, I believe, and the monitoring body is there. I think they're monitoring. They have legal authority to monitor the whole process. They are telling us they started. So I expect also the light armies should be also based upon agreement. It should be returned back. They should be disarmed. And that's going to be the end of the whole. It might not be the end of the whole story, but when regions are armed to their teeth, there is a kind of potential to misbehave and to resist the federal government. I'm not saying that in a proper way, if a region resists the federal government legally, that's okay. But in a way, when they rely on their armies and when they rely on their guns, that's where the problem is coming. So they should be disarmed. They started it. We encourage them, and we are happy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so far so good, right? So far so good.
So far so good.
Yes.
So far so good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously, there are issues, loopholes that still need to be addressed in the process. There can be hiccups, ups and downs. What are some of the way out of this potential challenge? What are the things that you see? Can you briefly tell me some of the things that each actor should do?
Each actor should do is that the first thing is that let us talk in good faith. So there should be good faith, and there should be discussion from all sides how to handle this thing. And well, good faith cannot be a kind of cannot come overnight. But I know that. But at least it should be done in good faith. And also, I think the commission at the federal level also should help. I think the public should help also. We shouldn't be a kind of cynical about the whole process, and we shouldn't be negative uh, about everything. Whatsoever TPLF does, there are a bunch of people come out and they say all kind of negative things. Anything the federal government does, there are a kind of social media and everybody's making negative out of that. I think that's not gonna help. What's gonna help is, if you ask me, all of us let us try to uh, a kind of help the process, at least by not confusing the public, because at the end of the day, if the public is going to be a kind of negative about this peace process, is going to fall apart. This is not about TPLF, few people in TPLF and a few people in federal government, but this is about Ethiopians. So all of us should be a kind of should add up to the positive outcome of the peace process, and there should be deliberation, and all stakeholders should share their concern and their hope about this process. We cannot ignore anyone's concern. If there is concern from Amara politicians, if there is concern from Oromo politicians, Afar politicians, Tigray politicians, their concern should be addressed, their concern should be heard, and their input should be seen. If the input is words to take it into consideration, that should be also there.
Going forward, Frehyiwot, as you know, the peace deal was signed under the auspices of the African Union as per the motto of African solutions to African problems. So to what extent has this peace deal hit or achieved this target of finding, African solutions to African problems without resorting to the help of other nations?
Well, this is a good initiative, and we have to be encouraged that this is a good start. We should also appreciate that. And in the meantime, what I can say is that at this point, we have to be clear that foreign Westerners are not at the front line or at the front chair of this discussion. So we would say that this is good initiative. I would prefer if we would have done that in Ethiopia. I would appreciate that if we would have done by ourselves. If we couldn't do it, since we couldn't do it, again, the second step is doing in Africa. That would be also appreciated. If Africa wouldn't do this, actually international community would do this. But at this point, this is good initiative, and I'm super glad that Africans are starting to take care of their business.
Obviously, this is peace process which needs the support and appreciation of every actor, right? So what constructive roles need to be played by everyone, every actor concerned, and of course the international community for the peace and prosperity of this East African nation?
The first of all, some of the conflicts in Ethiopia is fueled by diaspora. So I think at this point, I would just ask, and the audience and everybody should ask also the diaspora from Tigray side, the TPLF supporters, to calm down. We are not benefiting out of this war. We lost our property, we lost life, which we cannot replace. So in the meantime, I want also government supporters from in the diaspora. They have to help this process, and also not only TPLF supporters, and some of diaspora who are suspicious about the whole process. They have to engage. They have to talk to both sides. I don't think it's the best way just to is to simply trying to be a fault founder about everything. Rather, just they have to engage with the government and ask what is going on. They have to ask what's going on. They have to ask both parties, and they have to support the whole process in a way that it cannot be reversed. So we cannot afford to see this process be reversed. So with that, having said that, international community, especially from Western countries, I know they want to support this process. I know that, but I cannot tell what they are doing, because some of the things are being done diplomatically behind the scene. But at this point, I would want to say about diaspora Ethiopians to stand and to be loud about this peace process. They have to come out and they say we have to stand for it. So that's a kind of the bottom line. Everybody cannot, and by any means we cannot afford this process falling apart. We have to support it.
Frehyiwot, Samuel, thank you so much for giving me some of your precious ideas and some of your precious time, getting up early in the morning. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Definitely. Well, dear viewers, thank you as well for having been with us. Until I see you next time with another program, it's goodbye from me, Chief Aralak.